Shalom Bethel family. It is Thursday. Time again to review our Torah discussion from Congregation Bethel this past Shabbat. This past Shabbat we read Parshat Tzav from the book of Leviticus. And the portion that we read really was concentrated on the initiation of Aaron as Kohen Gadol and his sons as the Kohanim, as the priests who would be in charge of taking care of things in the Tabernacle. Now, usually we focus on the part of the ceremony that was bloody because, I don't know, we like bloody things, where an animal is sacrificed and blood is placed on their ear and their thumb and their big toe on their feet. Less attention is given to another part of the ceremony, but I think that part should not be ignored. There's a special oil that Moses takes, and it's the anointing oil, and he uses it and he anoints all the different elements of the tabernacle, right? Sprinkling oil on those parts. And then he pours some of the anointing oil upon Aaron's head and anointed him to consecrate him. So why take the oil, splash it on the tabernacle, then take it and pour it on Aaron? And the answer is that this initiation ceremony is not just a dedication of Aaron and his sons to service. It's so much more than that. It's a commitment. It makes a connection between them and the cause that they will serve, the tabernacle, the tent of meeting where God's presence will be felt. A commitment is different from a dedication. Fundamentally, to be dedicated to something, say, oh, yeah, I'm dedicated to it. When you make a commitment means there is something required of you for it. So I was reading about this commitment connection made between Aaron and the tabernacle, and I got to thinking, what are the things that we are committed to? By human nature, we tend to divide up in teams, right? We join this cause or that cause, this social circle or that social circle, this even synagogue or that synagogue. It is by a human nature, part of our social nature as people to want to join up with other people and be dedicated to something, be committed to something. So what are the things that you are committed to in your life? Think about it. Now, I'm sure most of us would say, I'm committed to my family, I'm committed to maybe your faith community, maybe your friends, maybe your neighbors. But is it really true? I'm not accusing you of anything. You'll have to decide for yourself. But there is an insidious effort within our culture. There are groups of people who have understood our general will or need to join teams, and they're taking advantage of it. Right? They're corrupting that impulse to be part of something. And they're using it to make us part of, rather than joining us together, to divide us up through verbal attacks, through forwarded memes, through subtle and sometimes not so subtle pressure, right? We see it happening in politics, in faith settings, in racial settings, everywhere we look. This instinct of joining together being used instead to divide us up. And we all get sucked into it. But it's time that we ask ourselves, if we are really committed to the things we say we're committed to, our families and our neighbors and our neighborhoods and our communities, how much time are we spending committed to those things? How much are we sending the messages and the feelings of those things out into the world? I mean, literally, do an accounting of time. Do an accounting of what you've forwarded around lately. Pictures of the accomplishments of your children, or the latest meme making fun of something or someone? At a risk of sounding completely countercultural, but then Judaism has always been countercultural, I would posit, I am increasingly becoming convinced that there is no such thing as an online community. That in fact, online and community are oxymorons. If they happen, I think they happen rarely. So much more often the internet and online is used to divide us up than to bring us together. All evidence points to the fact that an online community is not a real community. Online is where we go to get away from the teams that matter, our distraction from what's happening in the world all around us, from our commitments, the things that truly make us more stronger or deserve our attention, our time, and our talents, our families, our neighbors, our faith communities. Our time spent online is very rarely spent dedicated to those things. Instead, we get dedicated to these things that come flashing at us all the time, political statements, brand, pushing from advertisers, nasty emails, attacking people ad hominem for their personal things, personal attributes. That is not commitment. Hitting the forward button is not a commitment to anything. And it doesn't bring a lot of good into the world. I would posit that to be more like Aaron and his sons, to have that connection to that which is real around us, God and people and neighbors and values, we should forget the forward button exists on our computers. Don't forward that next meme, that next nasty joke, that next commercial. No good is coming from that. Instead, step away from your computer. Stick your head out the door and look at the world around you, the people who need you. We need to spend our time not connected to false teams, the false teams that come all around us and ask for our loyalty. Instead, to be connected to the real teams that matter. Our family, our faith community, our general community, our neighbors, those who share our values. Let me tell you, you're going to find more of them on the street outside your house than you are on your computer screen, in your social media, or in your email. And so, when we do that, when we get our heads out of our computers and more into our lives, don't worry. Don't worry about the politics and the commercial brands that want your attention, all those things, that social movements that seem to be beating down your computer screen for your attention. As a matter of fact, when we take our time connecting to the teams that matter, when we're really spending time with our families, really learning from each other within our local communities, well, there won't even be a question which ones of those other things to support. They'll all work themselves out based on our local value system, on the teams that really matter to us, and not on the noise that's bombarding us all the time. We'll be able to tune that out much better. I hope we're all able to focus on the teams that matter, to commit to them, to spend our time and our effort and our talents on improving those things that are all around us, family, community. We should all have great luck, great success in achieving that goal. And I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.